So what was it that made you, I guess, led you to cook the way that you do now?
I guess that would be Alton Brown, probably.
Yeah?
Yeah. And probably because of his Mr. Wizard style of introducing food topics, which, as a former enjoyer of Mr. Wizard myself, like really connected with me and made cooking less of a mystery.
Hi, everyone. First, I want to say thank you to everyone who listened to my first episode last week. I really appreciate all the love you've given me. You know, I mentioned in that episode that acting was a part of my life for so long, and this may shock you, but I am terrified of public speaking and putting myself out there in forms like this. I'm much more comfortable hiding behind a character than I am being myself. So this is a huge thing for me to be sharing with the world, and I love any and all support I can get. So thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. Exciting news! The Desert Island podcast is now available in 2 places, Spotify and Apple Podcasts. This is still very new, and I'm hoping to add a few other places where you can subscribe and listen. New episodes I'm planning right now are going to be released on Wednesdays, and we have some exciting things to talk about soon. So you'll want to rate, comment, subscribe, all the things. I have a brand new recipe on the Desert Island blog that I'm excited to talk about today. Fall is just around the corner, and I'm already planning to post a lot of pumpkin desserts. This recipe can be made all year. I like to think of it as a summer, fall, winter dessert. It's an easy apple crisp. I made this crisp in an iron skillet, but you can also make it in a baking dish or pan. The apple pie filling gets bubbly on the sides when it's good and hot. The crisp topping is made with brown sugar, butter, flour, cinnamon, and oats. It's easier than a pie to put together, and it goes great with vanilla ice cream. But what I love most about this dessert is that there are so many different things you can add to the filling that will complement the apples. The one on my blog is going to have caramel sauce, so it's a bit more of a fall twist. You can add fresh cranberries or whole cranberry sauce for Thanksgiving or Christmas. You can even throw in some raspberries or strawberries for a summery vibe. Recipes like this that are easy to make, that you can play around with, and everyone will enjoy are the best dessert recipes, in my opinion. So I highly recommend this dessert, and you can find the direct link in the episode description. All right, let's get to it. I have a guest with me today. He's a business analyst, but in the evenings and on the weekend, he's a home cook, a bread baker, and a video game enthusiast. And I must say, he is one of the most handsome men I've ever known. It's my husband, James. And I got to sit down with him and talk about our food heroes, the real and fictional people who have inspired us and shaped the way that we approach cooking and baking. And we also talked about the importance of food, not just as sustenance, but as a way that we come together and connect as people.
Thank you for having me
You're welcome. Thank you for coming on.
as your lawfully wedded husband.
Yeah, that too.
That too.
We kind of talked about this the other day. Food heroes.
Right.
The people who have inspired you and me to be bakers and cooks, and who are our favorite celebrity chefs, who are the people in our personal lives who actually inspired us to start cooking and baking.
Yeah.
And all that.
Most people, that's their parents, right? I mean, you'd hope.
Parents, grandparents,
Yeah.
family members, I guess. I don't really know who in your specific, I know your mom and stepdad had a LA cafe.
My parents had a restaurant. They had a cafe in Las Vegas, in downtown Las Vegas, for a little while, which was like pretty much all of my middle and high school years. But that didn't like inspire me to get into being in a restaurant or anything. It just showed me how much hard work food service is.
Yeah.
And also like wasn't necessarily inspirational for the things that I like to cook or bake, because a lot of the things that I do in the kitchen are kind of a rejection of the way my parents cook, because the way they cook is like they usually take the most direct route to making food, and I tend to take the most circuitous route possible, because I think that the more effort you put into something, the better it tastes. And they really want their food to taste good, and they always wanted their customers to eat well, but also they used canned food, and they use like pre-cooked stuff and powdered ranch dressing that like you only just needed to add to buttermilk.
I thought you were going to say powdered mashed potatoes.
Yeah,
That
powdered mashed potatoes, like brown gravy from a powder.
I am very fortunate that my mom's default mashed potatoes were real mashed potatoes, not instant mashed potatoes. And the first time I had an instant mashed potatoes, I was like, this tastes wrong. So I was very lucky that my mom and my grandmother, whoever made mashed potatoes, would make real mashed potatoes.
Yeah, my parents didn't actually use powdered mashed potatoes that often, actually, even in the restaurant, because they had children and they just have us peel the potatoes. And
So what was it that made you that it I guess led you to cook the way that you do now?
I guess that would be Alton Brown, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and probably because of his Mr. Wizard style of introducing food topics, which, as a former enjoyer of Mr. Wizard myself, like really connected with me and made cooking less of a mystery.
Hmm.
Which I think cooking is a mystery to a lot of people, because if you talk to anybody for any length about cooking, you realize that they don't know why they're doing what they're doing in the kitchen. And it's just rote. It's because they're doing what their parents used to do. And it's like, well, how did you learn that? And it's some iteration of some grandparent or great grandparent's habit of cooking, but they don't actually know why they're doing it. And it's turned into this multi-generational game of telephone where, we're all washing our chicken because our parents watched the chicken because their parents watched the chicken.
You talked about like cooking being a mystery. Like sometimes I do wonder because we know people who are like, no, I don't cook, or they're afraid to cook. And it's this whole intimidation thing. I had never made a cake from scratch until I was like 19 and it failed.
Huh.
It was that Christmas cookbook, remember, that I had that just had horrible recipes in it.
Right. Yeah.
And it was very dense. It wasn't sweet. It was just awful. And I was like, well, I'm never doing that again. But when I grew up, it was, if my mom made a birthday cake, it was box cake mix. So to me, that was baking. There were some things she made from scratch, like cookies and bars and stuff, but I don't think I ever saw her make, except for maybe like a Texas sheet cake. But everything else was boxed. And I mean, I would say it was like half and half when it came to things from scratch, like box cake mix, but real mashed potato, box mac and cheese, but real chicken all the time. Like made her own chicken fingers, not the frozen ones.
Yeah.
But I think there's just this.
My parents were into the frozen, not the frozen, but like it was restaurant style chicken fingers, because it was Tyson stuff that were coming from home from the restaurant that was about to go bad.
Yeah, Tyson's actually really good. Like
Yeah.
their chicken nuggets, I could eat those like for lunch every day. Alton Brown, he breaks it all down and makes it approachable for a lot of people. And he made it fun with good eats. Like
Yeah.
that's just a fun show to watch.
Yeah.
Like it's borderline cheesy, but not like to the point where you're like, this is cringe. I have to turn it.
It's just
Thanksgiving
cringe
episode.
enough to get your attention, but not to repel your attention.
Yeah. Like how many times have I watched this Thanksgiving episode just to get that turkey down?
Yeah.
It's great because he explains, like you said, the why. Why do you want to not open the oven with the turkey in it? Because the heat will get out, and why do you want the turkey to start at a high temperature and then push it down to a low? And it's things like that that I've learned being a recipe developer and now a blogger. Like we're not just, I use this example a lot, but baking soda versus baking powder. Why am I using baking soda for cookies
Yeah.
and not baking powder. Well, because they actually do different things, even though the only difference between the two is that baking powder has an acidic compound to it that activates the sodium bicarbonate. Is that what baking soda is?
Don't look at me.
Baking soda is baking soda in its raw form without an acid, and baking powder has that acid already to it.
Yes.
And baking powder is going to make things rise, whereas baking soda, like, they're both leaveners, but baking soda is going to make things spread and darken them more than baking powder would. So it's stuff like that that I learned along the way, or even how much of an impact eggs and sugar have on the rise of a cake. Like,
Yeah.
and Alton Brown was like one of the first people to kind of explain all that to me and made me think about food and baking and cooking in a different way. So I can look at a recipe now and say, oh, that's not going to work. Or, yeah, that's totally going to work. Or, you know what? I would do this instead because I want this texture.
Yeah. Which is crazy because how do recipes make it to print when you can just look at them and be like, that's not going to work? How did you not know that was not going to work?
I think it's less print. I mean, it's the internet. It's the recipes that get passed on from blogger to blogger, person to person, and not everybody knows what to look for in those things. And not everybody's going to speak up and say, hey, you know what? That's not what I wanted. Or they might not know what they want or need in a recipe. But like,
it's that game of telephone thing where the recipe just gets translated and translated and translated, and now the person who doesn't know what they need to know about baking is trying to bake a recipe that fundamentally won't work.
Yeah.
And that unfortunately will turn them off of baking.
Yeah.
Because I've only made 2 cakes from scratch, I think, in my entire life. One was that coconut cake, which is an Alton Brown recipe, which was the most work I think I put into any single dish because it started with a whole coconut that you had to briefly bake and then crack open and peel and shred. And it was just like so much work. And then I realized that part of the recipe is the coconut cake is like a condolence cake. Like it's something you make because it takes a lot of effort and someone has a death in the family or something like that. That's one of those dishes that you would bring because it's so much work to make and you want to express your sympathy in a way that conveys how much you feel about the situation. Like the strength of your sympathy is reflected in the effort it took to make the cake. So there's a difference between showing up with a coconut cake that was made from scratch and a coconut cake that came out of a Betty Crocker box. No offense to you, Betty Crocker.
Or Duncan Hines.
And the other cake I made was that Dundee cake, which was also a special occasion cake because we made it for Burns Night.
Yes.
Which was pretty good.
And for anybody out there who doesn't know what Burns Night is, it's a Scottish holiday that celebrates the work of Robert Burns. It happens in January, I think the 25th. I'm probably wrong on that, but we've been to Scotland twice, and it's one of our favorite countries. And my heritage is Scottish, and anything Scottish I like to incorporate into our lives. Burns Night, you have a Dundee cake, which is like a dense fruit cake, which is really good, actually. Anyways.
Yeah, fruitcake generally has a bad rap, but that's off topic.
That's an episode.
That is an episode for another time. We got a holiday episode lined up.
I like what you brought up about the basically creating the effort versus reward type thing with baking and cooking. And that's true. Like, I guess I never really thought about that. And you think about how, like, birthdays and holidays and any special occasion, you're with people that you love. Hopefully, food is such an interesting thing. Like, yes, we need it to survive, but also it's an emotional thing too. And it's a way to show them comfort or love or care or, hey, I was thinking about you. It's a deeply intimate thing to share and make food for people, if you think about it.
Yeah.
I mean, part of our origin story is you fell in love with me because I brought you sandwiches. I didn't even make the sandwiches.
Nope. Nobody had ever brought me sandwiches before. And I love sandwiches, but it's not anybody could have showed up with a sandwich. It's that nobody in all the people that I had ever dated had ever thought to bring me food, which is just like makes me feel so sad to say, because it's like, why did nobody think to bring me the one thing that always like brings a smile to my face food, but nobody had ever done that before. It was just so like, anyways. So then I decided I would marry her, and then I waited like 2 years to actually ask her.
So I
But
guess I'll fill here. This is the story behind. I didn't just one day show up at his door magically with sandwiches, even that he probably still would have.
may as well have.
We had been dating for maybe a month and he was sick, like with a cold or something. And I think I had just gotten off work or had the day off. And I texted him and I was like, I knew he loved Jimmy John's. And I was like, do you want me to bring you a sandwich? And I think he just said, yeah, that would be great. And I went and got sandwiches, and one for me, one for him. And I get to his apartment and we're sitting there on the couch and I'm like starting and I look at him and he's just staring at me and I'm like, are you okay? And he's like, nobody has ever brought me a sandwich before. And I was like, are you kidding me? But the look in his eyes was, that's it. I'm done. This is my wife.
Pretty much.
4 weeks after starting,
Deal sealed.
a month after dating. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the story behind the sandwiches. But it's true. Like, food is what pretty much brought us together. And I was telling,
Which isn't even that unique. I mean, but it's still impactful.
yeah. And I'm looking at you right now. You're still getting kind of like, oh my gosh.
I'm fine, everyone.
He's
I'm
crying.
Listen, listeners. I'm cool. I'm cool right now. I am in control. Everything's fine.
And we're talking about
Hand me a tissue.
we were talking about inspirations. And I told you the other day that you actually were one of the ones who, one, I hadn't really known about. I knew about Good Eats barely, but I didn't know about Alton Brown until I met you. But also, you kind of are the one who inspired me to cook more from scratch because you didn't want any of the canned stuff.
Yeah, because my parents relied on canned food so much.
And it wasn't even like that I didn't know how to eat. Like, it was canned like corn or something like that I
Yeah.
remember. And you were like, no, I want fresh corn.
Oh, it was green beans.
Was it green beans?
It was definitely green beans because
Okay.
I think we were doing your casserole.
Oh, okay. Like the green bean casserole I make.
Probably.
That makes sense. And it wasn't that I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know how to make these. Like, my mom made like fresh broccoli and stuff, so I knew like steaming and stuff.
Yeah.
But that encouraged me more to look at doing desserts and stuff from scratch. So that's kind of my origin story into getting into baking. We're talking about origin stories a lot because we've watched a lot of superhero movies lately.
Yeah.
Are there any other food heroes that like you have besides Alton Brown out there?
I got one that's a good one and another that's kind of a stupid one. So I'm going to start with the good one. Rick Bayless, who is kind of a travel host. He's on PBS. I don't even know if he has a show anymore. But Rick Bayless's show was really interesting to me because I feel like at the time there were a lot of hosts on Food Network or whatever where if you were traveling and eating, they were doing this kind of lifestyles of the rich and famous type, focusing on just the high end establishments. But Rick Bayless would be doing his travel show and he'd be in Mexico or somewhere and he would zero in on the street food and be like, this is the experience that you want. You want this delicious food that's being prepared by people who are making their living based on the quality of their food, not the reputation of their food, but just getting these people fed and getting on with their lives and making their day-to-day work from the kitchen. It's like there was zero pretentiousness about his show, and I think it really opened me up to trying more types of food, which was kind of easy for me because I already lived in Las Vegas. But problem with living in Las Vegas and being interested in food is most of the food in Las Vegas is very high end because the resort industry kind of sucks all the air out of the food scene. So I had to put a little bit more effort into finding food that was down to earth and good and not pretentious and, something that you couldn't find at home, but you didn't have to spend a lot of money to enjoy either.
Yeah, I think probably more so nowadays than when you were living there and growing up. It's all, you have to have a gimmick if you want to be discovered and have a successful restaurant business in Las Vegas, at least on the strip. I mean, you and I know that there are local places that we can go off the strip to find good food.
Yeah, Metro Pizza.
Yeah, Metro Pizza. But you've got the likes of Gordon Ramsay and who else?
Emerald.
Emerald
felt like he had a restaurant in every hotel. It was like, how can all of these restaurants have your name on? I mean, I understand, but it's just like Like, your brand is literally everywhere, my dude. Like, can you just chill out, like, for a second?
Yeah, you have to be a big celebrity chef. Vegas is a hard place to get your name
Yeah.
for many industries.
Yeah.
I know it was true for photography. I know it's true for restaurants. So it's just a difficult place there. And who was your other food hero? You could say it.
Senshi from Dungeon Meshi.
I knew it was going to be Dungeon Meshi.
Of course it is. Dungeon Meshi is a fantasy anime. It's on Netflix. It's actually under the title Delicious in Dungeon, but I think most people call it Dungeon Meshi. Senshi's one of the main characters. He's the cook in a party of adventurers who are exploring this dungeon. And he introduces himself by cooking a meal for everyone, and they didn't even know that you could eat monsters, and he's in there with monsters like pre-prepared, like he has a slime tofu ready to go, and he understands how to prepare the giant scorpion so it's not poisonous. Senchi's great because he loves cooking, but he understands that cooking and eating is, and this is the theme of the show, is a privilege of the living. It is something that he needs to do to survive. And it's something that he teaches others because cooking for others is important to him and has saved his own life. So he's kind of passing that on to other people. And I mean, spoilers for the show, his whole goal in life is to make sure that the people around him are fed and safe, because there was a time in his life where everyone around him gave their lives to make sure that he was fed and safe and healthy. And so he wants to continue that on and make sure that the dungeon stays in balance. Like, he was worried about overfishing, he's worried about the ecology of things. Like, that whole farm to table aesthetic, he really brings into this like microcosm of the dungeon and how everything fits together. And it's such a interesting lens to view food and eating and farming and growing food and experimenting with food that I just think about it constantly. Like, not constantly, but almost all the time.
It is a very cute show.
It's cute, but it's also like really
Deep.
deep. It's deep sometimes. I think Senshi is just a great example of the things you would want to think about when you're cooking
It's
and eating.
yeah. You know, one of the ones that I think about a lot is Ratatouille.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Remy the Rat and Ratatouille. And then just the whole, it's a Pixar movie, but it also has some deep levels, especially the last, 10, 15 minutes of the movie when Ego, the critic, comes in. Like, I tear up every time when he has that one bite of the Ratatouille and it just transports him back to being a kid. And it's just like the Ratatouille his mom used to make, and, cracks that hard shell of a critic that he is. Like, Ratatouille, by the way, is my favorite Pixar movie.
I think Remy's great as an example of a chef because, one, he won't eat garbage. I mean, just being a rat and being like, no thanks to that garbage is hilarious. But also, Remy is very concerned with flavor.
Mm-hmm.
Like, flavor is literally a palate for him. Like, when he's trying to explain to his brother Emil like how flavor works, and the animators like have everything go dark and they just have like these colorful swirls of flavor going on. That's an interesting way to sum him up as a chef, because he's so different from, well, from Senshi for one, from other imaginary chefs, other fictional chefs. But he's not focused on what the food is at that point. He's not focused on, oh, this is garbage, this is not garbage, or where it's from, or how expensive it is. He's focused on these two things complement each other, and it makes this new flavor that's greater than the sum of its parts.
Yeah.
Mm.
One hero I think you haven't brought up yet that inspires you is Paul Hollywood, because my amazing husband, everybody, makes or tries to make a loaf of bread every weekend.
Yeah, we're throwing tries in there. This, because mine didn't turn out
No, but
so great
it was
today. Yesterday.
it was fine.
We've already ate half of it.
Yeah, it tastes amazing. It has the bread texture. It didn't get the dome on top that he wants. He wants that tall dome. But James makes a loaf of bread almost every weekend, and he uses one of Paul Hollywood's recipes as, I would say, the base, because it was so cool to watch you in there. You had a little notebook. I think you still have it in your apron, and you would make notes every loaf every week and be like, okay, well, that didn't work. And
Yeah.
just watching you kind of work through it.
Yeah. So, pro tip for people in the audience, don't keep your notebook in your apron pocket because it will totally get wet and
Oh, no.
run. Yeah.
Oh, no.
I do still have the notebook. It's just now illegible.
Oh, no.
Yeah, but I mean, I've worked on that recipe a little, which is
It's milk
I
bread,
like.
right?
Yeah, it's his milk loaf recipe from How to Bake, but I had to adjust it over a couple of iterations because my flour is not his flour, and all flour is a little bit different, and it has a slightly different gluten content. I experimented with different butter and yeast ratios and also milk temperatures and kneading styles, which I'm still kind of working on. But my current kneading style is to hold the dough and throw it into my other hand. It's more like making pizza dough than kneading bread dough on the counter. It's turned out really good except for yesterday.
And it was, I mean, it's good every time for me.
Yeah, it's tasty.
And
It's tasty. I want it to be better, but I think everybody should always want their stuff to be better.
Yeah, I think it's not always a bad thing to want, not perfection, but growth.
Yeah,
Um,
especially in bread. Yeast joke.
and speaking of Paul Hollywood, like you and I both, I mean, I get into it more, but you and I both watch Great British Baking Show every fall. It's like, I would imagine this is how some people feel watching football. That's my reaction to watching the Great British Baking Show. I'm on the edge of my seat. I'm, as my mom would say, or my dad, hooting and hollering. I'm clapping, I'm crying, like I'm cussing, like all of it. I get into that show so much. And it's brought out people that you and I like both like who were inspiring, like Giuseppe
Yeah.
and then Peter.
Yeah, man, they were so obviously like they just showed up and you're like, oh, those guys are gonna win
Yeah.
because they're so good at what they're doing. And it's like you're not professionals, are you?
But they also have like kind of inspiring stories because I think Giuseppe, I could be totally wrong, he was there because his dad like he was really into cooking and
Yeah.
stuff. And then Peter like grew up watching Greatest British Baking Show and wanted to get there and like did well every time. Even Kim Joy, like
Yeah,
Kim Joy was
great, so creative.
creative and unique. She had her own thing. She didn't compromise, even when the judges wanted her to change anything. I mean, I don't think they ever wanted to change her style, but
Which is it's weird because you see some people go in there and they don't compromise and you're like, okay, that seems silly because what you're doing is not working. So
Yeah.
maybe you should change the playbook now and then. But Kim Joy did not deviate from her plan as far as presentation was concerned.
Yeah.
Like she kept her style, but when it came to the actual production and preparation of the recipes, she did seem to adapt.
Yeah, she learned.
Yeah.
I think one of the things about Great British Baking Show that sets it apart, and I know I've told you this a million times, like it's really hard for me to get into other baking and cooking shows. You know, I can't stand Nailed It. I just can't.
Nailed It's terrible. It's so
I can't stand it.
it's like the opposite of inspirational. And
Yeah.
it's actually a little depressing because at some point you're like, what's the outcome that I want?
What I love about Great British Baking Show is when the recipes are judged, Paul Hollywood and now Prue are telling them what they like, what they don't like, what failed, but more importantly, how they can fix it.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. So it becomes a learning experience for us.
exactly. And that's one of the reasons I like watching Gordon Ramsay because, I mean, for his whole gimmick in the beginning was he was angry and cussing and all the time. But when you actually watch Hell's Kitchen and when you actually watch any of his shows, you see he actually cares really deeply about cooking and baking. I guess more so cooking, not so much baking. And he wants people to learn. It's when the people don't listen to him or they show up with an ego that he gets mad.
Yeah.
Because it's like, why did you bring him here if you weren't going to listen to him?
It's like on television.
Oh yeah, but I mean, if you watch like his family stuff, he's got some like family specials. He's super sweet. He's super great with his kids. He's teaching them too.
Yeah.
And like, it's awesome. Like, so those are the people I see as like heroes, people who I want to watch because I'm learning. I mean,
see, I like Paul Hollywood, but I don't know how much of Paul Hollywood is like TV magic, the way that Gordon Ramsay is kind of TV magic. Like like my impression of Paul Hollywood might not be the actual truth of Paul Hollywood, but my impression is that he's got like an encyclopedic knowledge of bread where he can take flour and yeast and water and make many different types of bread with just the same simple ingredients. And that's magic.
He
Like, that is magic.
he knows bread so well.
Yeah.
And it's not just the basic ingredients he knows. It's how did you knead it? How long did you knead it? Did you add too much water? What are the ratios? And I love whenever he's talking to somebody and they're telling him and Prue what they're doing, and he makes a face and he's just like, and he can't tell them anything. And then when they get up there and he's like, this is what happens, and this is why it came out like this. Gosh, we've talked a lot. I guess we're kind of talking about shows now, but like watching David Chang and Mind of a Chef. How you were talking about Rick Bayless and he did travel, and David Chang did that with Mind of a Chef.
I love the way David Chang, well, I guess Mind of a Chef more, but was like connecting dots between apparently disparate types of cooking. I especially like David Chang's whole thing about how the international section at the supermarket is bulb leap because it shouldn't be that way. Like the international section at your supermarket should be spread out all over the store. Like the Japanese mayonnaise should be next to the regular mayonnaise, and like the Mexican condiments should be in the regular condiment aisle, because like all that stuff, when it cross pollinates, is amazing. But it shouldn't be sequestered off in its own section in the store. Like that food doesn't belong with the other food, because that's food and it's all delicious. And the more stuff that overlaps, the better it is for food everywhere.
Yes. Okay. We've talked about a lot today. We've talked about a lot of heroes and a lot of things that inspire us, people who inspire us. And I think we got.
And not people who inspire us.
And people who don't.
Rats and dwarves.
Yeah. Rats and dwarves.
Yeah.
Non-people who inspire us, not people who inspire us.
Not hyphen people.
Okay.
Yeah.
Other creatures who inspire us, I guess I should say. So now I have some questions for you.
What?
That I'm going to ask all my guests.
All your guests?
That come on, yeah. Oh. Like a James Lipton Inside the Actor Studio style.
Okay.
The first question, because this is the Dessert Island podcast. What is one dessert that you would bring to a desert island? And that would be the only dessert you could ever have, by the way. But you'd have an infinite amount of it.
So what are... Oh, no. You're going to hate me for this. So what are the rules here? Like if I pick ice cream, it has to be the same flavor ice cream.
I mean, yeah.
Okay. So like I can't say...
It doesn't have to be like down to the very like molecular level, but like I chose Rocky Road ice cream.
Yeah.
You can't just say pie and then have a bunch of pies.
Yeah. That does sound like cheating. I would very much like to cheat on this question.
I'll edit this out so it makes it sound like you're like, oh, this. Nailed it. First try.
Crepes, maybe? Crepe seems like a good thing to have on a desert island, because you can make a shelter out of them. No, because I assume on this desert island there will be other things to eat, and then I could put those things into the crepe. So I can have a little bit of variety there, which, I mean, I guess is not very dissimilar from like a tortilla, but it is a dessert.
I could see.
And there's a lot of different ways to eat a crepe too. Like even if you don't have a bunch of different fillings, or like even if you are not able to choose between savory and sweet, which is something that you can do with crepes, but you can just choose to roll it or fold it or like whip it and make it like extra bubbly, or like, yeah, you can serve crepes a lot of different ways, even without different flavors.
I mean,
crepes are good, y'all.
You would just eat them plain, I think, too.
Yeah, I would. Really would.
Yeah. Now you
want some crepes.
So the second question is, what is one ingredient that you would bring? Like,
well, flour.
Flour.
Yeah. It's got to be flour, because it's got to be, you can do so much with flour.
Yeah.
Sauces, flour. Like, flour is essential. It's almost too basic. I mean, I guess if I have to be not as basic as flour, I would say ginger, because ginger makes pretty much everything better. It's an excellent spice. It settles your tummy.
Yeah.
Makes a great tea.
Yeah, ginger's a good one.
Ginger's.
And then last question, and this is not food topic, but if there was only one, either TV show, movie, book, one source of entertainment, album, what would it be that you would bring? And you can't say Xbox, because that's, well, one game.
Okay, well then I guess it would, at the moment, it would be Final Fantasy 14 because I literally spent like 10 hours over the last 2 days playing that. So I'll get to the end eventually, but I've only done like 4 jobs out of like 20 so far. So yeah, there's a lot of content there.
It's the weekend, by the way. He has a job that he goes
Yeah, I
to.
have a job.
He does. He doesn't just sit at home and play Final Fantasy and not go to work. He works full time.
Yeah. Yeah, I play Final Fantasy the rest of the time.
Thank you for coming on my show. I'm glad I could persuade you with a coffee beverage to come talk to me about food. But this was fun. This was a good conversation.
Yeah. Thank you for having me on your show.